Get started. Thank you. Good morning, folks. This is Appropriations and Financial Affairs in the Maine Legislature, and we are gathered today to have some more public hearings on some bond proposals from our colleagues. And our good clerk has tallied the list of people who are here to attend and testify. And the bill with the highest number is LD 75. So we're going to put that one last so that folks can, we can move right along with the other ones that don't have as many people signed up. So I think what we'll do is start with LD 3, then LD 133, then LD 969, and then LD 75. Anybody have any questions or concerns about that? All right. So I might make that announcement again after we introduce ourselves, but why don't we go ahead and get started introducing ourselves? How about Representative Fecteau?
Good morning. I'm Justin Fecteau. I represent House District 86, which is western and northern portions of Augusta.
Representative Fay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Fay. I represent House District 66, which is parts of the towns of Casco, Poland, and Raymond.
How about Representative Corey?
Good morning. I'm Patrick Corey. I represent House District 25, which is part of Wyndham.
Representative Cloutier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I am Kristen Cloutier. I represent House District 60, which is part of my hometown of Lewiston.
Representative Millett.
Good morning. I'm Soren Millett. I represent House District 71, including the towns of Norway, Sweden, Waterford, and West Barrett.
Representative Hymanson.
Good morning. I'm Patty Hymanson. I represent House District 4, which is parts of York, Wells, Sanford, and all of Ogunquit.
Representative Martin.
Morning, John Martin, House District 151, Northern Aroostook County, and I live in Eagle Lake.
Senator Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Bailey. I represent Senate District 31, which is Saco, Old Orchard Beach, Hollis, Leamington, and part of Buxton.
Senator Davis.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Davis. I represent Senate District 4, which is all of Piscataquis, Passive Somerset, and Penobscot.
And my co-chair, Representative Peirce.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Teresa Peirce. I represent the majority of Falmouth of House District 44, and I am the House Chair of Appropriations and Financial Affairs.
And my name is Kathy Breen. I represent 6.5 communities in Cumberland County in the Maine Senate, and I serve as Senate Chair of Appropriations. Looks like Representative Corey left his house and went out fishing. You changed your background.
Yeah, that's actually, it's funny. That's actually in your Senate district. It's the Millbrook Preserve in Westbrook. I think that's your Senate district, right?
Yes, it is.
Along Route 302 there. So it's beautiful. It's a great place to go take a hike.
That's where you'd like to be, but you still are in your house on Zoom.
I am. So.
All right. So again, I'll just read the order of public hearings we're going to do. We're going to do LD 3, LD 133, LD 969, and then LD 75. So hopefully our sponsor for LD 3 is going to be here soon. I will
I think he's here.
Okay.
Under attendees.
Oh, and attendees, of course. I'm out of practice. Thank you, Maureen. I mean, Mary Ann. And not doing well today. Okay. And that is
Senator
Scott.
Lucchini.
Senator Lucchini. All right. Thank you. I will move Senator Lucchini over to the panel. Good morning, Senator Lucchini.
Good morning, Senator Breen. Thanks for having us go first. I'm ready to go.
Welcome and go ahead and get started.
Great, thanks. Well, good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. My name's Louis Lucchini, and I represent most of Hancock County in the Maine Senate. I'm here to present LD3, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue for maintenance and improvement of Maine National Guard facilities. For several years, I've been fortunate to serve as chair of the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee. And I'll note Representative Corey's on there with us. And when he changed his background photo last week, as I heard your previous discussion, when he walks away, it looks like he's walking into the river. Actually looks pretty funny during hearings, but
I thought it looked like I was walking on top of the water.
it did. You were walking on the water. It was great.
Nice.
But one of the privileges of working on the VLA committee is working with the great leadership team at the Maine National Guard and with the incredibly dedicated members of the Maine National Guard who stand ready to serve our state and our country during times of need. I think the pandemic has underscored the importance of the Guard during times of state and national emergency. I know in my district, for example, over Thanksgiving, we had a massive COVID outbreak at a nursing home that spread to every resident in the entire home. And it was the National Guard who came in that we called to come in and help and clean and sanitize the facility on a holiday and over the weekend. But as always, they were ready at a moment's notice, and we truly appreciated their support. The bond proposal before you in LD3 would provide $6.8 million of funds for the state's share of necessary updates to the Maine National Guard readiness centers and support facilities. The funds would be spent on maintenance, repair, capital improvements, modernization, or energy efficiency type of projects. And this bond would be matched by an estimated over $7 million in federal funds. As you all know, our readiness centers are essential for training and preparing members of the Maine National Guard. The buildings that we have now currently are aging. Investing in renovations now will prevent the potentially high costs if we have to do full replacements further down the road. Previously, we've spent bond issues on funding these improvements. A while back we did, and those were used for energy efficiency measures, creating updated classroom space and environments, buying things like simulators, maintenance bays. And the goal of all of this is to provide safe and modern readiness centers because they're critical for preparing our Guard members for any of the diverse missions that they'll be faced with. And truly, I think we all share the belief that before we send any Maine Guard members into dangerous situations, that they've been trained to the best of our ability, and that we make sure that we give them the tools to make sure that they're fully prepared. And this bond measure is a step in that direction. So I think either Major General Farnham or General Scott Young will be here to get into more of the details. I've also been told that the governor, I believe, is planning to put this into one of her bond packages or her bond package as well. So thanks for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Lucchini. Any questions for Senator Lucchini from the committee? Not seeing any. So we'll send you on your way, or you're welcome to stay, but we're going to send you back to the attendee list. And before I do that, I'll just ask folks who are here to testify in support of this bond to raise their electronic hand so I can move them over. Thank you, Senator Lucchini. Have a good day.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I see Mr. Scott Young, and if he's got a military title that I just messed up, I apologize. I'm going to move you over to the panel. Welcome.
Oh, good morning, Senator Breen. And I'm retired from the military, so Mr. Young or Scott Young works well.
Thank you. The floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Okay, let me bring that up. Well, good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee. I'm Scott Young, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Defense, Veterans and Emergency Management, and I'm here to provide testimony in support of LD3. The Maine National Guard takes great pride in the over 100 primary facilities where they organize, train, and equip their units across the state. They operate and maintain over 150 buildings, which total over 2 million square feet, the oldest being built in 1933, with an average age of 39 years for all of the buildings. In addition to the buildings, the Guard has access to and trains on approximately 365,000 acres of land. Our department currently receives $5 to $6 million in annual federal sustainment, restoration, and modernization dollars for facility repairs and renovations. Of the 100 primary facilities, 17 are classified as Army National Guard readiness centers, which means the federal government requires a 50-50 state to federal share for repairs and renovations. With a projected annual state budget of only $549,000, it's very difficult to sustain, let alone maintain state share facilities to the level required for proper health and safety. The condition of several state share Maine Army Guard facilities continues to suffer due to the lack of state funds necessary to support them. As part of our capital improvement program for FY 22-23, the Maine National Guard established priority projects for SRM funding. These projects will allow for correction of non-compliant code, health and life safety deficiencies, replacement of failing systems to prevent further facility deterioration, updating facilities to current standards and authorizations, and correction of energy inefficiencies. Without the $6.8 million bond, the Maine National Guard will invest only the programmed $549,000 of state funds and corresponding matching federal dollars into state-owned facilities. All other federal dollars will be invested into purely federal facilities, most of which are already in better repair than those that require a state share, or be lost altogether. Due to some very recent developments in the Maine National Guard's capital improvements program, the amount of federal matching funds has been reduced by $300,000 and stands at an estimated $7.6 million. This may require an amendment to the language in the bill. Additionally, I should note the governor intends to bring a bond proposal in the near future, which will include the same provisions outlined in this bill. Closing, without the bond funds, conditions of our facilities will continue to deteriorate to the point where they may suffer major building system failure or require total replacement. We humbly ask you to support the bond measure, allowing over $14.4 million in state and federal funds to flow into the communities throughout the state of Maine. This investment in our Maine National Guard infrastructure will provide for better training, increase unit readiness, provide safer work environments for our service members, improve morale, and display attractive and efficient buildings within our communities. And this concludes my testimony, and I thank you and stand by for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any questions from the committee for Mr. Young? Not seeing any. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the attendee list who is here to testify on LD3? I am not seeing any, so I will close the public hearing for LD3. And we will move on now to LD 133. We have my state rep, Representative Crockett, here to present. I will let you into the panel now. Well, good morning. We've got your face, but now we've got some sound. Welcome.
Geez, you got the worst part first.
Well, if it were that bad, I would get rid of it myself, so it's okay.
Okay. Jump right in.
Yes, please do.
Good morning, Senator Breen. As you're aware, my favorite constituent. And Representative Purse, my stellar district neighbor, and other distinguished members of the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee. I'm Representative Ed Crockett, and I represent part of the city of Portland and part of the great town of Falmouth. I'm here today to introduce LD 133, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to invest in fire stations. The job of a firefighter has evolved over the years and is still changing. In fact, a majority of the calls received by most fire departments are not related to fire. They also deal with drug overdoses, vehicle extractions, health emergencies, chemical spills, and many other serious situations. As a result, Maine's fire stations are a critical component of our first responder infrastructure, and the requirements for modern, fully functional fire stations continues to grow. They house not only the firefighting equipment we need to protect our municipalities, but other life-saving materials and supplies. Traditionally, it has been the responsibility of towns to maintain fire stations. But as the role of the firefighter has expanded over the years, so has the cost of keeping a fire station current. I believe cities and towns need help if Maine's firefighters are to have the facilities they need to do their jobs well. For example, in Portland, there are 5 fire stations in need of repair and replacement. It's our responsibility to ensure that emergency responders, like firefighters, are able to perform at peak efficiency, and I believe that includes investing in our fire stations. After all, at some point, we may find that our lives or property depend on how fast a firefighter can respond to an emergency. We don't want to jeopardize the well-being of Maine citizens due to inadequate facilities. Thank you very much for considering this. I would be glad to answer any questions, but Chief Gautreau from the Portland Fire Department, who I believe is up next, would probably do a better job.
Thank you, Representative Crockett. Are there any questions for Representative Crockett? I am not seeing any. So I will say thank you. And I will get to public testimony in just a minute. I would just like to welcome Representative Cardone and have her introduce herself. And then also ask folks in the attendee list to please raise your hand if you'd like to speak on LD 133. Representative Cardone.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry to be joining you late. I had another meeting that ran over. I'm Barbara Cardone. I represent House District 127, which is part of Bangor.
Welcome. Representative Crockett, did you see Keith Gautreau is here?
That is my understanding. I got an email from Mary Ann.
Yes.
Madam Chair, his hand is
I do
raised.
see his hand up. Yeah.
Oh, good, great.
Thank you. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning.
Welcome. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the introduction, Mr. Crockett. Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Purse, and distinguished members of the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee. My name is Keith Gautreau, and I am the Fire Chief in Portland. I'm here today to support LD 133, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to invest in fire stations and to provide you with some information and to speak about Portland specifically We have 10 fire stations in the city of Portland to maintain with full-time crews that work 24/7, 365. In June of 2017, the city of Portland retained the services of Facets Consulting LLC to conduct a fire station functional assessment on behalf of the Portland Fire Department. The purpose of this 85-page study was to determine the functional conditions of the current and future fire department facilities. The reason we did this is that I went to the city manager and said that we had a dire need for repairs in buildings, and so we wanted to go ahead with a real, true third-party functional assessment. This was an in-depth report that focused on 4 areas. It focused on fire station analysis, fire service demand, facility repair, and replacement plan and funding sources. Today, I would like to present some of the highlights of that report. Age of our stations. Our newest and most modern station on Munjoy Hill is 44 years old. Our oldest, Central, which I'm kind of reporting to you from here today, is nearly 100 years old. Replacement of several of these 7 fire stations that were studied, as mentioned earlier by Representative Crockett, we actually are in need of 6 stations now that would need repair, and I'll talk to you about that in a little bit later. But you can see that in the attachment A in your packet that I had submitted a couple of days ago, or yesterday rather. So the font may be very difficult for you to read, and I'm happy to resubmit it, but overall there were 7 fire stations out of the 10 that were studied on the mainland, and 5 of them are actually need to be built new, and the other 3 were major remodels. Handicap requirements. The department, in conjunction with the city's public works, recently in 2018, had a study done on whether we're meeting federal ADA requirements. And currently all 7 stations, now 6, and I'll explain that later, have shortfalls in meeting the requirement of ADA. Funding sources. As I noted earlier in this testimony, one of the areas focused on by the study was funding. And this is a quote from the study. "It is important to note that in opportunities for funding for fire station improvements or new construction through federal or state grant programs are limited. Most programs focus on small or rural communities with limited abilities due to insufficient local funding sources." And I will say that we have, over the last 3 years, have been applying for the AFG, Assistance to Firefighters Grant, federal funding grant application, and several other areas, and kind of have had some shortfalls with funding. I do want to mention, just before that study came out in the fall of 2017, we unfortunately suffered a kitchen fire in our North Deering station, which is the very station that actually protects Representative Crockett in my neighborhood, actually. And we had significant damage and an 18-month renovation costing over $1 million. A simple upgrade of a sprinkler system or even a kitchen hood suppression system could have had the fire station back in service in a week and saved several taxpayer dollars. Ironically, they were down the street fighting a dryer fire in a home when this occurred in one of our fire stations. This station here has since been renovated and is now taken off of the list of 7 that need renovations, and this one does fortunately meet the ADA requirements. And then finally, please note the cost estimates for the needed repairs from the city's public buildings manager in attachment B. That's much more legible in your attachment. As of this past year, there is a total in excess of 27 million needed in renovations and repairs, and this is just in Portland only. So needless to say, the stations are old and tired, and we've been putting Band-Aids on them for years and years. Our capital improvements plan funding has been significantly reduced in Portland. And so for these reasons, we urge you to pass LD 133. I thank you for your time and the opportunity this morning, and I'd be happy to answer any specific questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Chief. Any questions for Chief Gautreaux from the committee? Not seeing any, but thank you so much for making yourself available today and coming to speak with us.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in attendance in the attendee list who would like to speak on LD 133? If so, please raise your electronic hand. I am not seeing any. So with that, I will close the public hearing on LD 133. And we will move on now to LD 969. And
Chair Breen?
yes.
Representative Bailey is on his way over from another committee. He just let me know that. So
Okay, so we'll
he
just
should be
pause
here
for a
any
minute.
second, I assume.
Thank you very much. We'll
Yeah.
just pause for a minute and wait for Representative Bailey.
He says he's here, Madam Chair. Oh, there, I see him now. You're on mute, Madam Chair.
I am just not in the flow today, am I? There's Representative Bailey. All right, welcome.
Morning, you guys are moving and grooving this morning.
Yes, and the floor is yours.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, Senator Breen, Representative First, and distinguished members of AFA, thank you for the opportunity to present LD 969, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue for the construction of a convention center in Portland, improvements to the Augusta Civic Center, and a competitive grant program for capital improvements to public venues across the state. LD 969 would make critical investments in Maine's economic development infrastructure. $100 million for the construction of a convention center in Portland, $3 million for improvements to the Augusta Civic Center, and $12 million for a competitive grant program for capital improvements to public venues statewide, like the Lewis and Colisée, Bangor Cross Center, UMFK's Fox Auditorium, and others. In 2019, 37.3 million tourists spent nearly $6.5 billion in Maine. As one of the state's largest industries, tourism supported more than 116,000 jobs, about 17% of employment in our state, generating $2.8 billion in earnings and $648 million in tax revenue. The Maine Office of Tourism has a 5-year plan to increase visitation, tourism expenditures, and taxable revenues generated from restaurant and lodging taxes. However, given setbacks due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we may not meet these goals. The reality of Maine's economy is that we need to not only meet these goals, but we need to exceed them. As you know, Maine is the oldest state in the nation and getting older faster than any other. We have a declining workforce population. Our failure to attract and retain skilled workers will result in less taxable revenues from income and sales. To address this challenge and reverse course, we need to think differently, act boldly, and lean into our strengths. People want to visit Maine. We know that more people would visit and spend money on taxable lodging, food, rental cars, gas, and goods if we had a convention center in Portland. These investments would diversify jobs and revenue generated from the hospitality sector in our state. Let's not leave job-supporting, wage-increasing, pro-business taxable revenue on the table by failing to diversify our tourism portfolio. Let's not deny people from away the opportunity to explore Maine. and decide to make this special place their new home, especially in a post-COVID era of more telecommuting. By all means, we would welcome people from away to live, work, and pay taxes on their New York or Boston salaries in our state. During the 129th Maine legislature, Representative Andrew McLean introduced a bond proposal that sought to invest $150 million for the construction of a convention center in Portland. My proposal, in addition to encompassing numerous projects across Maine, also seeks a lower state investment in a Portland Convention Center. It is my belief that the city of Portland, Cumberland County, and other partners must have more skin in the game. As you will hear from the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce this morning, Greater Portland is the 106th largest metropolitan area in the United States, one of only 6 in this ranking without a convention center, and the only one without a legitimate excuse for not having one. I appreciate the backing of the Chamber of Commerce and Hospitality Maine for this proposal. My friend and our colleague, Representative Geer, does not live in Portland, Augusta, Bangor, or Lewiston. She does not represent a University of Maine campus. Representative Geer lives in Kennebunkport. But as you will hear from her this morning, Representative Geer understands that targeted capital improvement projects like those in LD 969 will benefit all of Maine. The same can be said of Representative Dudera of Camden and Representative Geiger of Rockland. I'm honored to have their co-sponsorship and support. The Augusta Civic Center is an important driver of economic activity in central Maine. As the largest event venue in our state's capital, it represents our state to her citizens and our nation. This facility needs improvements to be a competitive venue for concerts and events. I am proud to have partnered with Augusta Mayor Dave Rollins to include the Augusta Civic Center in this proposal, and grateful to Representative Dorr of Augusta for her co-sponsorship and support. Upgrading events facilities like the Fox Auditorium at the University of Maine at Fort Kent have been on the project list for years for the University of Maine system. Unfortunately, there has never been enough money available to make many of these capital investments to the detriment of these campuses, communities, and regions. I am grateful for this opportunity to support our universities and thankful to Samantha Warren for her collaboration. Thank you for the opportunity to present this bill today. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Representative Bailey? Not seeing any. So thank you very much. And I will ask attendees to raise their hand, their electronic hand, if they would like to speak in favor of this bill. Representative Geer, I'm going to move you over. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Coming to you live from the parking lot of the State House.
You just
great to be here.
You just went sideways. Try whatever you did.
There we go. Sorry.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. I'm Representative Tracy Geer, and I represent House District 9, which is Kennebunkport, and Coastal Biddeford in the $100 billion trade show and exhibition industry. Without a robust convention center with integrated hotels and extensive meeting space, a city simply can't compete with nearby locations that have those facilities. Since Portland does not have those facilities, it does not compete. If it did, it could attract some of the convention and events business in the Northeast. With our location near Boston, we're a logical option. Event planners are constantly looking to provide novel experiences to their attendees with new, interesting locales at the top of the list. Planners would easily latch onto Portland's reputation as a compelling tourist destination, foodie mecca, and up-and-coming city as selling points in their event marketing campaigns. As we emerge from the COVID pandemic, industry experts are saying that the events business will see pent-up demand for in-person events, along with the integration of virtual experiences into those events. These trends make it an excellent time to build state-of-the-art convention facilities with the capabilities and integrated technology to host these types of highly produced events. A convention center with high-tech capabilities could showcase Maine's growing technology industry while also creating more high-tech jobs. Finally, convention business would have impacts beyond the immediate confines of the convention center and Portland. Maine's tourism industry has deep expertise and experience in luring visitors to Portland to explore other parts of Maine, either for day excursions or to extend their stays. For years, we have bused Portland cruise ship visitors to Freeport for shopping and Kennebunkport for lobster rolls. Our tourism experts are constantly dreaming up new and inventive ways to keep visitors engaged and entertained, with our repeat visitation rate above 85% once we've got them hooked to start exploring our beautiful state. In addition, convention visitors could help with a very specific challenge. Our hotels, restaurants, and retail businesses continue to reckon with the seasonality of their businesses. Convention visitors could generate more activity in the shoulder seasons and even in the winter months for events like Christmas Prelude in Kennebunkport or skiing at our several resorts. By helping to build visitation during these off-season times, a Portland Convention Center could help create more year-round or 10-month jobs, improving employment opportunities for Maine people. For these reasons, a Portland Convention Center is an idea worthy of consideration. And so I ask you for your vote for ought to pass on LD 969. And I am here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee for Representative Gear? I'm not seeing any. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
I see a couple of hands up. I'm going to go to Eamon Dundon and Daniel Stevenson. I'll move you both over now to the panelist list. And Mr. Dundon will go first.
Good morning, everyone. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the committee. My name is Eamon Dundon, and I'm the Director of Advocacy at the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce, representing 1,300 employers and their estimated 65,000 employees in the 7 communities of our region. I'm here today to express our organization's strong support for the construction of a convention center in Portland, as well as improvements to the Augusta Civic Center and other improvements to entertainment venues throughout the state. In support of LD 969, we are here to tell you why a Maine Convention Center would provide a significant boost to Maine businesses and the state's economy. Portland, South Portland, Biddeford is the 106th largest MSA in the United States with 535,000 people. Within the top 106 MSAs, there are only 6, including Portland, that do not possess a convention center. However, each of the additional locations, unlike Portland, have valid reasons not to move forward with this type of development. The other MSAs of comparable size either lack access to an airport or are situated in proximity to a major city. Portland, by contrast, has the Portland International Jetport, boasting 9 airline carriers, 27 nonstop destinations, and over 2 million employments in 2019, just 4 miles from downtown. Nationally, conventions represent about 14% of all travel and tourism revenue, yet in Maine, that number is about 0. Information provided by the Greater Portland Convention and Visitors Bureau, also known as Visit Portland, projects that for 2019, up to 20 conferences were lost due to the lack of a world-class convention center in Portland. Almost half of these conferences were looking for dates in the off-season that would drive year-round revenue to businesses that are currently highly seasonable. These conferences have large budgets and could have infused millions of dollars into our economy, but instead that money is going to other destinations with convention centers in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Boston, to name a few. We believe that a Maine Convention Center could also serve as an innovation hub for the state and region, supporting economic development and helping to advance Maine's recently released 10-year strategic economic development plan. We have heard personally from a wide range of businesses and organizations who support this concept, from some of the state's largest employers like WEX, MEMIC, and Maine Health, organizations focused on science and innovation like the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, and those focused on entrepreneurship like Startup Maine. Our hope is for the convention center to be centrally located in one of the most walkable small cities in the country, built by Maine craftspeople with Maine-made products, as well as a prime venue to showcase Maine's amazing food and drink producers to visitors from out of state. The Portland Regional Chamber and our members recognize the countless potential benefits of a convention center would bring to our region and the entire state. We greatly appreciate your efforts on this issue over several legislative sessions, and we respectfully urge you to give full and favorable consideration to developing a convention center in Portland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Dundon from the committee? Representative Hymanson.
Thank you. Is there a location for a new center, or is this renovation of the old convention center in
So
Portland?
there's not a specific location identified yet. And it would not be a renovation of the Civic Center in Portland or anything like that. But there's a number of sites that could be considered, ideally located on the peninsula in downtown Portland to really promote that walkability and proximity to restaurants and bars, et cetera.
Has the planning board been part of this discussion?
There have been discussions in the past about a number of different proposals in Portland. Because there hasn't been anything that's been sort of concrete yet in terms of a site selection or funding, obviously. They haven't started that discussion just because they need a little bit more specifics to undertake even that master development plan. That would probably be the first step in the planning for this.
But there is some kind of buy-in for this idea from the planning board, from the
municipality. Yeah, the city of Portland has been very interested in this for the last couple of years and supportive of the efforts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Dundon?
And I would add, we have a report, a study that was put together in 2018 that looked at sort of the economic impact, as well as sort of provides an overview of the past efforts on this that we can get along to the committee before the work session as well.
That'd be great. Thank you. And Representative Hymanson?
Just a follow-up question to that. Is this part of the comprehensive plan for Portland? Is there a comprehensive plan?
We do have a comprehensive plan. I am not sure if it's in the 2030 comprehensive plan, but I can get back to you on that as well.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
Any other questions for Mr. Dundon? All right, I'm not seeing any. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And next we have Daniel Stevenson from the City of Westbrook. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much. Senator Breen, Representative Pierce, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations Financial Affairs. The City of Westbrook is in support of LD 969, provided that the bill is amended to include an expanded area of convention center construction, specifically including the City of Westbrook. And we have a reason why. We actually have a site, and we've been studying it. So I'd like 4 major takeaways from my testimony today. I will start with, then I'll provide a little bit more detail, and I'll try to move through it quickly due to time limitations. Number 1, the need is now for the investment in this economic driver. You've already heard this, but at the top, at least 100 MSAs in the country, 4 do not have convention center. Greater Portland is being one of them. In the City of Westbrook, we can get this constructed for half the cost, $50 million, and double the impact. Number 2, the Rock Grove site is shovel-ready for construction of a convention center right now. So how did we get there? We've already done the due diligence. A convention center is part of the master plan and includes a multimodal transportation center as well on this 110-acre site on the gateway to Westbrook and Portland. The Waterstone Group, the developers, they conducted a research and discovery tour of 27 different cities and towns across the nation, including Irving, Texas, Alpharetta, Georgia, Southern California, and Hartford, Connecticut, determined the best mixed-use elements and features to bring into an innovation district, which includes a convention center. The Waterstone Group met with dozens of local, regional, and state leaders, groups, and organizations for input. The Waterstone Group also created a partnership with the City of Westbrook. All the local land use permitting, including a contract zone and a tax income financing district, are in place now to construct a convention center. This was a multi-year process and included many opportunities for public participation. Number 3, investment to date. Where are we at that point? Waterstone has invested to date over $30 million in infrastructure in the project and surrounding area, including $10 million specific to traffic improvements. This is Maine's largest mixed-use development project and part of an estimated $700 million investment in both public and private sector dollars. We can't do this alone. It does take a public sector investment. Number 4, convention center supports statewide economic development. It drives revenues locally, regionally, and for the state through increased sales tax, creation of thousands of jobs, and increased direct and indirect consumer dollars in the economy. I'd just like to add a little bit more detail in my testimony, if I may, and I'm available for questions as well. Tourism's Maine's #1 economic engine, raising billions in revenue and welcoming millions of visitors annually. LD 969 is about expanding tourism and business trips to Maine, responsible 21st development, economic development, and growth. As an economic development practitioner at the local level, I'm directly involved in community and business growth daily. This LD will have significant positive impact on our state and regional economies. It brings Maine into the 21st century with respect to tourism and visitors' experiential expectations. For Maine to be competitive in the marketplace, we need strategic investment and policies that lead markets in economic development. Rock Row in Westbrook, Maine is the largest mixed-use and transit-oriented economic development project. It taps into the tourism potential and unmet demands of visitors coming to Maine. It's more than just a conference center. It's an innovation district that generates its own excitement and energy with interactions with residents and visitors in the Maine community. At completion, Rock Row will be more than 2.4 million square feet with nearly $700 million in public and private investment, the creation of 4,000 livable wage jobs. Businesses that choose to locate in the innovation district, such as New England Cancer Specialists, will generate salaries far higher than Maine's average wage and will boost secondary job creation as much as 3 times. That economic impact and employment on biomedical research, development of environmental science, renewable energy, will have Maine's legacy industries that hold a place of honor and distinction, such as Maine's first cross-laminated timber building, innovation in investigations, ag and aquaculture as well. Within this 110-acre site, Rock Row will showcase substantially modern development techniques, prepping for the transition to electric and self-driving vehicles as well. It will host 6 million visitors annually from our immediate and expanded trade areas from 30 minutes to 4 hours, and has the promise to be vital international trade for tourism. Rock Row has an innovative design and the access for multimodal transportation to move large numbers of people around this location without the high expenses of construction in dense urban historic areas. Pedestrians, bicycles, scooters will be more than able to connect through many miles of trails in the area, highlighting the outdoor freedom and movement that visitors expect in Maine. In summary, LD 969 supports tourism in Maine's largest economic engine, shared revenue generation, and significant growth for state and regional economies. I am here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Any questions for Mr. Stevenson from the committee? Yes, Representative Peirce, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Stevenson, are you a resident of Westbrook? I don't have your testimony right in front of me. I didn't catch that.
I do. Not only am I a resident in Westbrook, I'm also the Economic Development Director for the City of Westbrook.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for not having your testimony in front of me. And you mentioned a little bit about if this were to be located in the Westbrook-Portland line, you mentioned a little bit about people taking bikes or walking, or how would, I think part of the draw is Portland, obviously, right? And the restaurant scene and the bar scene. I understand that from a convention center. Would you anticipate doing some sort of dedicated bus, trolley, interesting service into Portland that might entice people that were at the convention center to, not that Westbrook doesn't have great restaurants and great bars, but,
I think the short answer is yes. A little bit longer, the answer is when people travel, they look at regions. When I travel to big cities, I travel quite a bit actually for the City of Westbrook to do a lot of trainings and conferences. A lot of times conference centers are located in central business districts where they close down, and at night you Uber around the city to different places. That would be no different here. We would absolutely want people to get out, bring them to the Old Board, whether it's through Ubers or trolley systems. Also, this site has direct connectivity to Portland trails. We think this increases the value and the economic impact to all of Greater Portland, including Portland. I think the difference here, though, is we have studied this site and it is ready to go now. If you were to move this forward, we could do it at half the cost.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stevenson? Representative Hymanson.
Thanks. So I'm looking at Rock Row now. How far into your construction are you, or where is this development?
So phase one, which is traditional retail at the front of Brighton Avenue, there are where the Market Basket is. There's a number of that going up right now. Housing is going to start next year, and the Innovation District should be starting there as well. I did upload some photos if you're able to look at those. Now, I didn't get those up till this morning, but you can take your time and look at that. Certainly for work session, I'll make myself available as well. There's a timeline on when the projected investment is over the next coming series of a few years moving forward. And by 2023 or 4, we anticipate fully moving with the whole Innovation District. This would be one part of the Innovation District, meaning this is destination oriented, and we anticipate 6 million visitors a year coming here. This is great for all of Greater Portland, and quite frankly, to drive revenues for the entire state of Maine.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stevenson? If anybody would like to visit Rock Row, it is in my Senate district. I would be happy to host you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Stevenson. Good to see you.
You too. Thank you.
Anyone else here to testify on LD 969? If so, please raise your electronic hand. I don't see any. So I will close the public hearing now for LD 969. And we're going to move on to our fourth and final bill, LD 75, with our appropriations alumna, Representative Dunphy. Coming on over to the panel. There she is. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. It's so good to see all of you, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you for the time. And good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and esteemed members of the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee. I am Representative Michelle Dunphy. I represent House District 122, which is comprised of the City of Old Town and the Indian Island voting district. And I am here before you today to present LD 75, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to replace or repair Bureau of Forestry aircraft. And while this bill is self-explanatory, I believe some background information would be helpful to the committee as it deliberates the merits of this legislation. And first, I would like to call your attention to the fundamental premise behind the legislation. We are very lucky to have the devotion and the skill of the Maine Forest Service to the people of Maine. And the mission of the Forest Protection Aviation Branch is to support firefighting and law enforcement actions of the forest rangers, as well as those mission requirements of the rest of the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. Critical to the mission is the ability to respond rapidly to reports of fires and other emergencies. And as the only state agency that operates both helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, they are called on often to aid the Maine State Police, the Maine Warden Service, the Office of Information Technology, the Department of Fish and Wildlife Biologists, Baxter State Park, and Department of Transportation, and any other state or federal agency that requires helicopter support. This is done with 7 helicopters and 3 planes flown by 5 forest ranger pilots and maintained by 4 full-time FAA certified aviation mechanics out of the Old Town Ranger Station and Flight Facility. The backbone of the fleet are 5 Vietnam-era Huey helicopters, all of which are former military aircrafts and built in the mid-60s. The Rangers operate helicopters that were actually used in the Vietnam War, and the average age of their fixed-wing aircraft is 56 years old, with the oldest being 69 and built in 1952. Purchasing 2 newer, more modern airplanes would allow the Forest Service to return to their 1957 airplane to the U.S. Forest Service and sell one older plane on the open market. The Forest Protection Division currently operates 7 models of helicopters and airplanes, adding a great deal of complexity to their overall operation. And the funds from this bond issue would allow them to park, return, or sell 4 aircraft. This would allow the Forest Service to bring the fleet down to only 4 models of aircraft, thereby reducing the cost of operations and maintenance. I would note that on several occasions, the military or the FAA has put a service bulletin on the Hueys, downing the entire fleet of Hueys, sometimes for months at a time due to maintenance issues. In each case, the state of Maine was without a firefighting helicopter for that period of time. And we don't need to look too far back in history to know that wildfires pose a serious threat. Just looking at California and Australia over the last year or two, and even last year in 2020, Maine had a record number of wildfires. And in 2021, we are on track to surpass that number already. So my goal, and the goal of everyone who knows this policy area well, is to keep Maine forest fires right where they are today, which is out of the news. And it's time to modernize and update the aviation fleet for the Forest Service. And I urge you to pass LD 75. I'm happy to be here today, and I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee for Representative Dunphy? Not seeing any. So we will thank you for coming, and we will open it up to public testimony. I would just say before we start testimony, we have a hearty number of folks here today to testify on this bill, so I think it would be prudent to start the 3-minute clock. My good co-chair will be timing folks and politely interrupting to let folks know when they are when 3 minutes has elapsed. Please make sure you raise your hand in the attendee list, and the first person I'm going to go to on her request for scheduling is Commissioner Beal of the ACF. So Commissioner, I will move you over right now. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can. The floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. My name is Amanda Beal, and I'm the Commissioner of the Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry, and I'm here to speak in favor of LD 75. I'd also like to thank Representative Dunphy for submitting this bill. The Forest Protection Division operates a complex aviation fleet of helicopters and airplanes supporting the operational needs of DACF and other state agencies. It also plays a critical role in protecting our forest resources, which are the backbone of our recreational and forestry industries, together contributing approximately $17 billion to our state's economy each year. This fleet of aircraft is aging. 5 of the 6 helicopters used to fight fires and perform search and rescue activities are more than 50 years old, and the average age of the 3 airplanes that we operate to conduct activities such as fire detection flights, water quality enforcement, and entomology surveys for mapping pest infestations is 56 years old. While the aircraft are well maintained by our own aviation mechanics, there comes a time when the age of the aircraft interferes with the safe completion of the state's mission. As it stands now, parts have become more expensive and harder to find, and older aircraft spend more time grounded due to maintenance issues. The aging of the fleet is happening at a time when these aircraft are in use more than ever. The Forest Protection Division has lost 25 ranger positions since 2000, and meanwhile, the local fire departments that the rangers depend upon for support during fire season are shrinking, with more of them closing every year. As a result, in the last few years, our rangers have become the primary firefighters for an additional 355,000 acres with no increase in staffing. Because of this, our helicopters are used more often to move firefighters and equipment to remote locations before dropping water on fires. It should also be noted that for much of the past 2 years, Maine has experienced drought conditions throughout much of the state. And due to the isolation requirements of COVID-19, the people of Maine and the rest of New England have been heading to our forests and parks in record numbers for recreation, which is evidenced by the record-breaking more than 3 million visitors to our state parks last year. And while the additional visits bring welcome income to the state, most fires in Maine are started accidentally by people. And with our dry conditions, which continue today, the additional pressure on our forests demands all the more from our rangers and our aircraft. While Maine averages 500 to 800 wildfires each year, there were over 1,100 fires last year. And as you heard from Representative Dunphy, we're off to a very, very busy year already as well. And thankfully, the acreage burned remains small because so far we have still been able to respond to the fires quickly and fight them aggressively. The Maine Forest Service operates an effective and efficient flight division that benefits the entire state, but the older aircraft need to be replaced or modified to maintain that effectiveness and to ensure the safety of our pilots, other state agency staff, and the public. This isn't a new issue for the Forest Service. The Bureau began updating the fleet in the early 2000s, but the 2008 financial crisis delayed the process after purchasing only one new helicopter. We recognize the many moving parts during the legislative session and are happy to work with the AFA committee alongside the governor's office to ensure that there are adequate resources to modernize this important fleet of aircraft. I would ask that you please see the attached handout to my testimony, which further highlights the role of the forest protection fleet and also the plan and cost to modernize. And I should also mention that our Chief Ranger Pilot, John Crowley, will be providing additional testimony on this bill today, and he can speak to more specific details of our fleet management and needs. And with that, I thank you, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you, Commissioner Beal. Any questions for Commissioner Beal? I'm not seeing any, but we know where to find you if we need you. So thank you for joining us. I'm gonna move Mr. Crowley over now. Just one moment. We can hear you, Mr. Crowley, but we can't.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
There you are. Welcome.
Well, thank you for hearing us this morning. And Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the committee, I'm Lieutenant John Crowley, the Chief Ranger Pilot with the Maine Forest Service, and I'm here to provide testimony in support of LD 75. The Forest Protection Aviation Branch flew 452 missions in 2020. That included flight response to 117 different fires requiring the use of helicopters for transporting 300 firefighters and over 19,000 pounds of supplies and equipment. And our aircraft don't just transport fire equipment, they are firefighting equipment. During the 2020 fire season, our helicopters scooped up and dropped 289,000 gallons of water on fires. In addition to firefighting, the fleet conducted over 1,200 aerial suppression inspections, aerial inspections of logging sites, as well as 22 interagency search and rescue operations with state police, game wardens, and fire departments. The aviation branch also uses aircraft to assist other agencies with transport for important scientific sampling and survey efforts that help conserve and maintain the state's natural resources. For instance, it is our helicopters that fly wildlife biologists conducting moose surveys so the state can gauge the correct number of permits to be used in different areas. Because we are the only state agency that flies helicopters, we support other agencies that require transportation to remote sites or survey work that requires slow speed. OIT operates 7 mountaintop repeater sites that can only be accessed by a helicopter for maintenance and repair. Using Maine Forest Service helicopters instead of contractors has saved OIT over $1 million since 2016. The Maine Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Moose Survey Project has saved over $350,000 in that same period using Ranger helicopters and flight crews. The cost of contracting one helicopter like those that we use to fight fire would be $1.5 million for 120 days during fire season. Our aviation branch operates 10 aircraft, 9 jet fuel trucks, a full maintenance hangar with $7 million in parts and storage, as well as the mechanics and Ranger pilot salaries and benefits for less than that for an entire year. This bond issue would be used to purchase 2 used but modern Bell 407 helicopters, similar to the helicopters purchased in 2007. We would park 2 of the Hueys that haven't been overhauled, which would be used for spare parts. Additionally, modifications would be made to the remaining Hueys to increase safety and extend their lifespan. There's no specific end date or life limit to the Huey airframes, but we're getting closer to the point where it won't be viable to operate these aged aircraft. The idea that we have kept them flying for 56 years and we can keep them going for another 56 or even 20 years is false. The plan when the 3 Hueys were overhauled was to get 10 years of additional use out of them, 15 at the most. It has been 8 years since the first Huey was overhauled. We are nearing that 10-year expectation very quickly. The 5 remaining Hueys we currently have allows us to keep 3 of them operational at one time. And even after the aircraft have been overhauled, there are ongoing airframe issues. Our maintenance division has done great work allowing us to operate these aircraft safely, but there will come a time when that will not be possible due to additional structural issues or parts availability. It may be 1 aircraft at a time, or it may be a problem that affects the worldwide fleet that would cause us to lose the backbone of our entire program. We have a proactive and well thought out plan to maintain our ability to fight fire and perform other missions of the Forest Service. And I urge the committee to see the immediate need and value in updating the important fleet of aircraft. And I'm happy to answer any questions now or at the work session.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Crowley? Representative Fay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Crowley. I'm curious, and I don't necessarily need an answer now, but how much does it cost to overhaul a Huey, and how often does that happen?
Well, the first Huey that we overhauled was between $500,000 and $600,000. And that was just the airframe. We didn't get an engine out of it. We kept the same engine. The second aircraft was $650,000 and the third aircraft was $1.3 million.
Thank you.
It happens in the military. It used to happen about every 10 years, but we had the aircraft for over 20 before we put them through the process. And when they say overhaul, you still get a 1965 helicopter back. You know, they do an awful lot of work and they tear it down and then tell you what they see at that point, and they put it back together. When you send it in, you don't know how much it's going to cost. You have to have an extra chunk of money to fix any of the repairs, because once they tear it apart, it doesn't go back into flying condition until they do every little bit of piece of work, because it is coming out of the factory. And after we had 2 of them overhauled, we found cracks in the tail booms that we had to repair within 2 years of getting them back from overhaul. So while it certainly extends the life, it doesn't fix everything.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions for Mr. Crowley from the committee? All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to move over Jeff McCabe. Welcome.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody. I miss not sitting in the room with all of you and, having conversations as you walk out to the parking lot. But Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, members of the AFA committee, my name is Jeff McCabe. I serve as the Political and Legislative Director for Maine Service Employees Association. We represent 13,000 people from Kittery to Fort Kent and all points in between. Many of you know that I have a great deal of passion for recreation in Maine in all 4 seasons, and I've always been drawn to the aspects of managing and protecting our natural resources. In my current job, I have the honor and privilege of working for the folks in the public sector who, provide vital work, both protecting natural resources and supporting people using the natural resources. So flashback a little bit, jump in the time machine. I had my first conversation around the state-owned aircraft back probably over 10 years ago. I'll set the stage a little bit, but I was newly elected to the legislature and serving on the ACF committee. In those days, we had many three-way reports out of that committee, and I didn't realize at first that that was kind of abnormal. And often I found myself, voting in a block with such legends as the two Jeffs. That would be Representative Gifford, Representative McCabe. That would also be in that block, Representative Dean Cray, Representative Nancy Smith. And it was at that time that the state was looking to actually sell an aircraft. There was a need to generate some money and fill a budget hole. And that time, the Baldacci administration saw selling one of the aircrafts as a possibility to fill one of those holes. It was at that time that the committee joined together to really understand sort of the aviation fleet of the state much better. And through that process, we really got a broader sense of just the need to invest in that fleet of aircraft, but also just the immense amount of time that was being spent to continually maintain and overhaul this aircraft. So it didn't take very long for the committee to work on a solution, to work with appropriations to make sure that that aircraft would stay in service and actually not be sold. But at the same time, we also discovered that the state wasn't making those ongoing investments to update the fleet of aircraft. So I think it's time right now to really give that some thought. I would look back, I would say that, investments over the last 20 years have not been made into the aviation fleet. So it's a great opportunity to really look at making those investments. I might even say that probably one approach might be looking at the federal funds that are coming to the state of Maine to really look at making a modernization investment in this entire fleet. And if there's anybody after today that has any hesitation for the need for these aircraft, I would encourage you to take a ride up to Old Town and actually check out the aircraft and see for yourself firsthand. It's very eye-opening when you find yourself in those hangars, when you see just the age of the aircraft. I also encourage you to take a walk around into some of the storage buildings and just to see some of the Huey parts that are left on hand, sort of in a just-in-case model. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe. Any questions for Mr. McCabe from the committee? Not seeing any, but thanks for joining us and thanks for your suggestions for a visit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And at some point in time, I'll happily come back and tell the committee the story about the time that the committee member, Senator Paul Davis, picked me up hitchhiking years ago as well. I'll save that one for a later date.
We look forward to that.
I thought you would.
All right. Thank you for being here. Have a good day. Next, we're going to hear from Melanie Sturm. We'll move you over now. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Just adjust things here. I apologize. I'm having a few glitches.
That's all right. I understand.
Okay. Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the committee. I'm Melanie Sturm, the Forest and Wildlife Director at the Natural Resources Council of Maine, and I appreciate this opportunity to provide testimony in support of LD 75. Land conservation and science-based management of natural resources are issues of chief concern to NRCM, and in the Northwoods, these are among the most important drivers of forest health and sustainability. As the agency responsible for management and monitoring of public forest lands, the Maine Forest Service needs the proper tools and adequate funding to achieve its goals, especially in the face of serious immediate threats like forest fires and invasive species and drought. Helicopters and airplanes are used by the Maine Forest Service for scientific sampling, such as for wildlife surveys, forest protection against wildfire and other threats, and interagency operations. These aircraft are important assets to the state of Maine that help protect public and private resources and environmental and economic values of Maine's forests. This bond proposal is necessary because the current aircraft fleet used by the Maine Forest Service is old with maintenance and safety issues. We believe that bond funding for modernizing the fleet is critically important at this time and represents a smart investment in the stewardship and management of Maine's forest lands. In order to help keep our forested ecosystems healthy and continuing to deliver benefits to Maine people, we respectfully urge the committee to vote ought to pass on LD 75. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Sturm? Not seeing any. Thank you for joining us today. Next, we will have Dana Duran and then Carrie Morse and then William Gillespie. So Mr. Duran, I will move you over now. Welcome.
Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce. Nice to see all of you. I think this is my first opportunity to testify in front of you this year, and I am remiss that I could not follow Mr. McCabe, because when he talks about Senator Davis and his hitchhiking story, it's always enjoyable. So again, my name is Dana Duran. I'm Executive Director of the Professional Logging Contractors of Maine, a trade association that represents logging and trucking contractors throughout the state. The industry employs 3,900 people directly and also is indirectly responsible for the creation of another 5,400 jobs. I've provided written testimony for you, so I will summarize to keep it brief, and I know we want to keep things under the 3 minutes. So in 2016, a group of us got together and created something called For Maine, or the Forest Opportunity Roadmap. We set a goal that by 2025, our industry would grow from an $8.5 billion industry to a $12.5 billion industry. To do that, we need the strong support of the Maine Forest Service. So I will cut to the chase with respect to the Forest Service and the Rangers and the Aviation Unit. From the perspective of logging and trucking contractors that harvest and transport all of the forest products in the state from the stump to the mill, the Ranger Aviation Unit provides multiple important services to our membership and to the people of the state of Maine. The Forest Service provides vital fire suppression services that you've heard about already, so I won't be redundant. But also they provide rescue and medevac services in difficult to reach places. With the ability to short haul, they can deliver rescue personnel, including a paramedic, directly to the point of injury for our membership, and then lift an injured logger to a spot where an ambulance or life flight can transport them safely to a hospital. In a rural place like Maine, hospital and critical care facilities are scattered, and the ability to move our folks quickly from the forest to the hospital cannot be understated. Lastly, the Forest Service provides critical asset security checks for our membership. Fixed wing aircraft and helicopters are used on weekends and holidays to check active logging sites, making notes on the location and the condition of the equipment at the site, and their presence deters vandalism. To continue this support, the Rangers need the aircraft that have been mentioned and to replace the 55-year-old average legacy fleet that's in their possession at this point. We strongly endorse the premise that sustainability of Maine's forests requires coordinated oversight, regulation, education, and enforcement, regardless of the ownership of the property. And without the Maine Forest Service and their aviation resources, the forests of Maine would not provide a positive outcome for so many of our members. With that, I hope you support this bond legislation, and I'd like to thank Representative Dunphy for her unwavering support of this bond issue. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. Any questions for Mr. Duran from the committee? Not seeing any right now. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Great, thank you.
I'm going to move Corey Morse over, and then William Gillespie, and then Eliza Townsend.
Sorry, my video is having a little trouble today.
That's all right.
You
We've all
probably
been
don't
there.
want to see me anyhow.
Take your time. Do you want to take a minute to get it going?
Sure, let's just start video. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time getting it going. Can you hear me okay?
We
I'm
can
sorry.
hear you.
My name is, and thank you, Senator Breen and Representative Pierce, and the members of the committee. And my name is Corey Morse, and I am a senior paramedic for North Star EMS, which is based out of Franklin County, Maine. And as an ambulance service, we cover 2,800 square miles of territory that include the Western Mountains, the Appalachian Trails, many lakes, ponds, and rivers. By comparison, it's great. The territory we cover is greater than the state of Delaware in territory, about 8% of the state. And my perspective isn't coming necessarily from a firefighter standpoint, but from search and rescue. So we're the guys that kind of go up in on the Appalachian Trail and help bring patients back to definitive care, to Life Flight or our ambulances. I'm also a private pilot. I fly an old 1957 Cessna out of Belfast, and really enjoy that. And I understand maintenance and how that works for older aircraft. The Aviation Wing of the Forest Service admirably serves a role as a force multiplier for fire departments. But I wanted to let you know that it also is a force multiplier for search and rescue groups and such. It's in addition to carrying hundreds of gallons of water underneath the belly of a helicopter, they're also helping us bring personnel and equipment to the scene. When a call comes in, rescue crews, fire, EMS, search and rescue, warden service, all gather together and we work to coordinate and deploy our response. And Forest Service has become a very important part of that. Oftentimes, we're miles from a road and we have to go by foot to get there. It takes several hours potentially to get to the patient. Equipment needs to be lugged in. I'm also a wilderness medical instructor, and we teach our students that it takes 25 personnel to do a litter carry on a patient on flat terrain for a mile. Imagine going up and down rough terrain. So the Aviation Wing is our force multiplier as well. To be able to short haul a patient to definitive care in a short amount of time really cuts down on the risk to first responders. And with fire and EMS agencies across the state having a hard time finding volunteers or staffing their response, this force multiplier is sorely needed and welcome. They've been great to work with. And I'd submit this is probably one of the best deals going in the state. You've got an agency that provides a service that, as you've heard testimony before me, it transcends many departments of the state and local departments as well. As the assets continue to age, they obviously require increased maintenance, the parts availability come and go, and there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to keep these older assets flying. And reduced downtime and increased maintenance removes those assets from the need. I mean, with the drought conditions we've already talked about, it limits our response and the resources. So I'll leave you with this. And lastly, recently, Maine news outlets have reported on Life Flight of Maine's brand new helicopters, 2 state-of-the-art helicopters that provide those critical care transports, and they're wonderful, good people, and but they don't provide rescue capabilities. They're unable to short haul or ferry people into a remote scene as much. Those aircraft cost $6.5 million each. The bond amount proposed by this LD 75, I think it's a bargain, and it outfits and maintains the current fleet of aircraft and for the long haul. I appreciate the time of the committee, and I appreciate you taking my testimony. And what questions would you have for me?
Thank you very much, Mr. Morse. Any questions from the committee for Mr. Morse? Not seeing or hearing any. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Now going to move over to William Gillespie and then Eliza Townsend.
Good morning. My computer decided to do a reboot the exact time that you invited me over here, so
That's
forgive me
something.
for the delay.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Senator Breen, Representative Pierce, and members of this committee, my name is Chief Bill Gillespie. I am also the fire chief in the town of Liberty and the legislative liaison for the Maine Fire Chiefs, representing 400 fire chiefs in the state of Maine. We did meet recently at a board meeting and did discuss this legislation and strongly support the initiative to strengthen our Air Force for the Maine Forest Service. As a fire chief and boots on the ground, I can attest to the need for this service. There have been many opportunities over my 33-year career to bring the Forest Service in to assist with suppression activities on a fire and also guidance on a fire. A lot of times in rural Maine, we don't know where the fire is stretched. We can't get enough boots on the ground around it quickly to determine, is this fire possibly in a process of damaging other homes, areas. So we will bring the Forest Service in, and they don't always have to drop water, but they will stay above us for a period to lead us in a proper direction in which to safely put firefighter forces around fires. Recently, actually, not recently, 5 years ago, we had a 52-acre fire in a neighboring town. On entrance to this, with only 2 entrances to this location, very rural in the area, one of the major fire trucks, the first one in, got stuck. Basically, we had a shuttle for almost a half a mile equipment to get to the root of this fire. This fire was also in a heavy timber area and was crowning. We brought in 2 helicopters to help fight this fire, and it took a better part of 3 days to suppress this fire completely. Without the service of the helicopters, I would anticipate this would have gone many more acres without their support, just based on the fact that it was a struggling day to get resources into this fire. This fire came on a weekday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we worked that fire until 10 o'clock that night just to get out of control so that we could leave for the evening and come back. We would not have achieved that goal without the strong support of the Maine Forest Service and the aircraft that they do present to us anytime we need them. So I would ask you to support this initiative and certainly help us fund to keep Maine safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Gillespie today? Not seeing any, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next will be Eliza Townsend. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. I am Eliza Townsend, Maine Conservation Policy Director for the Appalachian Mountain Club, and I'm pleased to speak to you this morning in support of LD 75. AMC is the nation's oldest conservation, recreation, and education organization with the mission to foster the protection, enjoyment, and understanding of the outdoors. We have 6,500 members in Maine and own 75,000 acres of forest land in the 100-mile wilderness region of Piscataquis County, managed for multiple use, including sustainable forestry, carbon sequestration, backcountry recreation, and environmental education. The Maine Forest Service has needed to update its fleet of aircraft for a very long time. More than a decade ago, the legislature created a non-lapsing account to allow the Maine Forest Service to replace its aging fleet of Vietnam-era Huey helicopters, but that account has repeatedly helped to balance the budget in hard times. I know because I was one of the folks who handed it back to this committee on a couple of occasions. It's doubtful that anyone on the committee or in state government routinely drives a car dating from the Vietnam War era. I used to drive a 1961 Ford Falcon. It was magnificent, aqua, with great big bullseye taillights and also dashboard instruments. And I loved that car, but I sold it in the 1980s after a few exciting experiences with failed brakes. Yet the men and women of the Maine Forest Service continue to fly aircraft dating from the same period. It's a testament to the skills of the Maine Forest Service aircraft mechanics that we've not experienced a catastrophic failure, which would almost certainly be a fatality. It's time to stop taking chances. LD 75 authorizes a $6.5 million bond to purchase 2 modern helicopters, upgrade 2 of the Hueys to prolong their lives, and replace 2 airplanes. We have long known the economic value of Maine's 17.5 million acres of forest, and Mainers and visitors have long treasured the wonder, solace, and recreation it provides. Only recently, however, have we come to more widely appreciate the forest's value in addressing a changing climate. Not only do Maine's forests absorb 60% of the state's carbon pollution annually, but they offer vital habitat connectivity for a range of species. Their complex landscapes offer the self-renewal known as resilience, which is vital to maintaining biodiversity in the face of climate change. In other words, Maine's forests are of global importance. Yet in 2020, the Maine Forest Service suppressed a record 1,100 forest fires. We need to invest in the necessary equipment to protect this extraordinary asset, and as important, we must safeguard the men and women who safeguard our forests by providing them with modern equipment with which to do their job. The bond package and supplemental budget will be informed by the use of American Rescue Plan and other available funds. However you balance bonding and one-time investments, I urge you to ensure the protection of Maine's forests and firefighters. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee for Ms. Townsend? Representative Peirce.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. I have to share that my brother and I shared a Ford Falcon during high school times, which we called the Flame. It had 3 on the tree, and it was a great kid car. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it was the best. The lack of seatbelts, a little bit of.
Oh yeah, I don't even know that
exciting.
There were seatbelts, but like the helicopters, it was time to upgrade that car. So, but anyway, I appreciate your testimony and couldn't help but sharing that. I'll tell my brother.
Any further questions for Ms. Townsend? All right, thank you so much for being here. Is there anybody else in the attendee list who would like to testify on LD 75? I don't see any further hands raised, but if I've missed you, please go ahead now and raise your hand. All right, don't see any. So I will close the public hearing now for LD 75 and just check in with my co-chair and our analyst. As far as I can tell, we have some more. We have a session day tomorrow at the Civic Center. I think according to Maureen, LD 1507, LD 1506 are ready to go. They'll be on the calendars tomorrow. Then we'll be back together on Thursday for some additional bond hearings, mostly related to transportation. I got that. Maureen is nodding her head. I love when that happens. So any questions from the committee before we sign off for the day and we get to see each other tomorrow in person in the Civic Center? Representative Millett, we cool?
I would say we're surreal.
Oh, wow. All right. And Senator Davis, when are we going to hear your story about Jeff McCabe hitchhiking? Is this a time that we should do that, or should we wait till we're in person for that story?
Well, it was a long time ago, and I was driving through the town of Monson, and I recognized a young representative from Skowhegan was walking, and I said, shoot, I know him. And I picked him up, and they were looking for a place to get some cash. They were walking the Appalachian Trail, and I just gave him a ride. That's all. It was a Sunday afternoon, and he and his family were walking the trail. And he never forgot it. He always reminds me of it. So I guess sometimes
great.
you do something, it lasts. So that's the story.
All right. That's pretty G-rated, so I appreciate that. All right. Any other questions, anything before we sign off? All right. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.